Well, hello, family. How's everybody doing? I hope everybody's having a good day and staying cool. We are in a heat wave, so please hydrate. I keep saying this every time I come on. And I'm here with my esteemed colleague and co host, Lisa Vitello. How's it going, Lisa?
Good afternoon. It's
Oh,
going. It's going. I had a long weekend. We had Friday off to commemorate Independence Day. And it was, as we all know, this country's 250th birthday. And I'm not a big air quotes person, but I have to put these things in quotes because the land was already here. This land is not 250 years old, number one. So at base minimum, this is not a birthday. Commemorating, not so much. 250 years of colonization is not how I would like to spend my weekend celebrating. So I watched World Cup. That's what I did all weekend. I did not leave the house on Friday nor on Saturday, and did not participate in anything that would be even remotely misconstrued as a celebration of this country, especially given its current political stance and what we are doing globally to other nations. I can't get behind it. I have nothing to celebrate.
and over here in the Great White North, as they like to call it, the same goes. Canada Day was on July 1st. And to your point, I just enjoyed the day off because I also don't really like to get, I don't, not, don't really, I don't at all subscribe to Canada Day and the Canada Day celebrations. In fact, anybody who sends me Happy Canada Day, I kind of just make it clear I don't celebrate it. So don't wish me Happy Canada Day. I say it with love, but I do not celebrate Canada Day. So it's not, there's nothing to be happy about. And so that's why we are here today, because we're asking the ripe old question: should we, as Black people, be celebrating these so called holidays or celebrated days? So that's what we're going to talk about today. And seeing as Lisa's in the United States and I'm in Canada, we're going to link the two and talk about why, even if we're not convincing anybody, at least have the conversation of why and provide some information that maybe you could think about the next year that comes around. Maybe reflect. I know for me, I like to go around to all of the areas that have Black history and show people about that and talk about the Indigenous people. That's what I like to do on that day because I think it's important that people know the history.
I agree. And I think people don't know the history. They don't know our history, let alone Indigenous history. I'm sure most people don't know that we live on Turtle Island, let alone specifically where on Turtle Island we are and what our region is called. I think for Black people, one thing that I'd like to impart, and let me step back for a minute. This was the first year that no one wished me happy 4th of July. They finally got the message. This was the first year. Everyone must have known, oh, yeah, she's not having it, especially this year. So I did not get any of those texts or Facebook messages, Instagram messages, which was great. But
It's
as a,
still a re-education process for me.
you know, it's taken years, and I
Mm.
felt elated that I did not get any well wishes for a day that, again, I have not commemorated since I've lived in this country. So,
You know
yeah.
what's funny? When I get those messages, and it's from Black people, my Black friends and what have you, and I say that, the response is usually, I get it, I understand. So if you understand, and that's the conversation I want to have, what exactly is it that you do understand? Are you just understanding my position, or are you understanding why? And if you understand why, what exactly is it that you know, that you understand? And if you did, then you wouldn't be wishing me a happy Canada Day. So it's a broader conversation with those people that send me those messages.
For me, my response is twofold. I think that we must be fully aware that until the year 2111, so still far away from now, we're not going to be alive. It's only in that year will we have had more years of freedom than of slavery in this country. Mind boggling.
Let that sink in,
Yeah,
family.
if that's the way we can remember this information, just look at that. Look at the red versus
Look
the green.
at the red. Mm.
Do you know that Harriet Tubman was alive? She was still alive when Ronald Reagan was born.
I
This
knew that.
recent, this is recent history. This
Hmm.
is recent history, and I need people to really understand that. We're not talking about something that happened millennia ago, even hundreds and hundreds of years ago. This is recent history, and it affects us to this day. We are not free in this country. We have people who have immigrated here looking for freedom, looking for a better life, and they are at risk of being deported. They are at risk of being sent to countries that they have no connection to in
Yep.
this country by this country's government. Where is the freedom in that?
And that can literally be a whole other segment because I covered this, especially with the United States ending the temporary protected status for Haitians, Syrians, right? And just asking the question is, okay, they came here, and I get it. There's a process, and we might be deviating a little bit, so we'll come back, family. We'll come back, but there's a process, right? And yes, we understand it's temporary protective status, so temporary being the operative word. However, I do think that there should be systems or processes in place where it's not just blunt force trauma, sending everybody back, mass deportation, back to harm, back to, potentially losing their lives and all of that other stuff. So to your point, I 100% agree. Where's the freedom in that? How do you sell this, oh, Independence Day when you're doing this on the back end, right? So it's just, and the same with Canada as well. You're celebrating Canada Day, but you're marching around saying we want to ethnic cleanse the country and take Canada back, and it's not even your country. And
It's
I'm
not even,
talking about the folks who put masks on and go marching around Canada with mass deportation signs and remigration now and all this other stuff. And it's like, Canada first. It's not your country, people. It's not your country.
stateside 1776 is the birth date of a government, but again, not of the actual land. Erasure is what started in 1776. So I need everyone to be cognizant of that. The land itself has thousands of years of being in existence. It was a nation with laws, with government, with language, etc. In the 1300s plus, they have record of Indigenous histories and Indigenous languages that go back that we can see now. This did not start in 1776. We have access to these oral histories. We see them in museums. We have the internet. We can access this information. So anyone that believes differently is again, I say this often enough, is being willfully ignorant.
100%.
We have
100%. And do you know some people will literally get into, and not, no, excuse me, let me rephrase. Some Black people, when we post on our social media, because I expect the backlash from non-melanated, but
mhm.
when Black people want to debate, when I make my feelings known about it, it I'm befuddled by that. Even when you're giving them the history and they still want to be, I know, but no, but what? There's no but after that. There's no but. But, as I say,
However,
I just want to show a little something here that I think is important to understand why we shouldn't be celebrating, just in case there's some, some undercover deniers that may be watching that look like us. Because,
Or
like I said,
overt deniers. Or overt deniers. They are out there.
overt too. Yes, yes. So this is just a high level. I encourage anybody, like Lisa said, internet, their books in libraries. It's out there now. It's easier for us to get ourselves educated. But number one, colonization and theft of indigenous lands. Indigenous lands were stolen through broken and coerced treaties. Indigenous peoples were displaced, their governments suppressed, and their cultures criminalized. By the way, again, Canada. We're talking about Canada right now. The history of slavery in Canada, enslaved Africans and Indigenous peoples were held in both French and British colonial Canada, because back then it was called the New France. Slavery existed for over 200 years before being abolished in 1834. The first recorded enslaved Black person in New France, Olivier de Jeune, arrived in 1629. Then there's systemic discrimination against Indigenous peoples, long-term boil water advisories, housing shortages, higher rates of child welfare intervention, missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, and gaps in healthcare, education, and infrastructure persists to this day.
Question. I remember a few years ago, there was this big push across the nation, across Canada, to not celebrate Canada Day because of the missing and murdered women, because
that they uncovered.
Exactly, because of the residential school system and the horrors that happened there. What's transpired since? There was a big push, and then I haven't heard anything more.
Because that is typical. There will be a whole big movement, and then the following year, it's like it never existed. And then what happens is we'll recognize it on Truth and Reconciliation Day. So on that day, everybody will wear an orange shirt. Not everybody, but some people will wear an orange shirt and say, we recognize Niagara Falls will illuminate orange and all that good stuff. And then it's gone. Just like what happened with George Floyd. It was a whole big global movement. And guess what? The next day, Black men were still getting pulled over and the same thing was happening. So for a period of time, people were like, yeah, I'm done. I'm never celebrating again. It's like everybody had selective amnesia. And now we're back to people, as I said, sending me happy Canada Day. And I'm hearing fireworks all over the place. And it's not only the folks. I'm hearing it everywhere. People are out celebrating, having a grand old time. And I'm thinking, how? Like, how?
I think the two of us should start a new holiday in Canada. I think we should model it after July 5th. So when slavery was officially abolished in New York State on July 4th, 1827, Black New Yorkers marked the occasion with powerful celebrations. While some gathered in churches on July 4th for solemn services and speeches, many chose to celebrate the following day, on July 5th, to avoid the threats of racial violence often associated with white-dominated Independence Day festivities. But this is also more than a safety decision. It was a political and cultural choice. July 5th became a space where Black communities could fully claim the joy, visibility, and significance of emancipation without compromise of fear. That, to me, is a gorgeous way to celebrate the freedoms that we do have, all the while understanding we are not yet there fully.
Life-changing.
Adage goes, Until all of us are free, none of us are free. However, this is a way for us as Black people to acknowledge from whence we've come. So I would like to do this. I did it this year. I will be celebrating on July 5th moving forward.
Love.
And
Love.
I think we need to implement this.
Love. We definitely need to implement this. I think it's beautiful. And it definitely is something that I would love for people over here to get behind. Will they all? Doubtful. But at the end of the day, we can never get everybody, but it would be nice if
Yeah.
we can start this. And I think that we should. I think we should. I'm 100% on board with that.
We've got a year in which to get the ball moving. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's go. What else do I want to say? I want to talk about a little bit about because I do think people need to know the things that you don't know, right? My good friend Salam Debs is an anti-racism coach here in Ontario, and every year during Canada Day, she puts up a message about what it means if you're celebrating Canada Day. So she put up to celebrate Canada Day is to celebrate settler, colonialism, genocide, enslavement, oppression, violence, extraction, exploitation, and attempted annihilation of Indigenous peoples, along with 250 years of enslavement of Black African peoples. Today should be an opportunity to teach your family, friends, and children the truth, unlearn, and give back what's owed. And then she hashtags land back and then hashtag reparations now. And every time she does that, she's slammed with so much hate, vile. I refuse to even give it life. And that's why I'm not even putting any of the messages that she receives. But it doesn't stop her, because what she's saying is right. And we all know the ugly truth hurts. People are hurt by the truth. And I always say, if you're hurt by this, then you are one of those people that if you didn't like literally be part of this, your people behind you did, and you support it. If you could be mad about something like this, because it is the truth. So
And that at the end of the day, for me, with anyone who wants to have a conversation based on opinion, we can have it, but the facts are the facts, and we can't dispute those. As an example, Germany paid over $89 billion in reparations to Holocaust survivors. $89 billion. The United States paid $1.6 billion to Japanese Americans interned during World War II. Black Americans have received how much for 246 years of slavery?
a big fat goose egg.
A big fat goose egg.
And what has Canada received?
Those are facts.
Yes. Well, what I always say is we can have a debate about my opinion, but you can't argue with me about facts. In fact, I wouldn't even spend time arguing with you about facts. I would just say to you, go look it up yourself. I'm not going to spend time arguing about facts. And one thing you'll never be able to call us, Lisa and I, are liars. Okay, so you can argue about our opinion, but not about the facts. And the facts are all here. Screenshot between 1497 and 1600s, colonial arrival, right? European explorers and settlers arrive on Indigenous lands. That's when the treaties were broken, communities were displaced. 1497. Then between the 1800s and the 1900s, that's when genocide and oppression happened, where residential schools, the Indian Act, land theft, cultural destruction, and generations of trauma, which continues to today. Then the 1960s to today, resistance and resilience still going. From civil rights to land back movements, Black and Indigenous people continue to fight for justice. We continue to fight for justice. So 1497 to 2026, and y'all still have the caucasity
Oh,
to go marching around this country saying that you're taking it back because there's far too many Indian people for you, or far too many Black people for you, or too many Indigenous people still here. And Indigenous people get some, they get some uh, preferences and things that happen with
as
taxes.
well they should.
Exactly.
As
But
well they should.
they should be getting more, that and more. But of course, the caucasity of the people that will be like, oh, and you get this and you get that. Yeah. And if anybody should be telling anybody that they want to do an ethnic cleanse, it should be them.
Facts. Facts.
But these people, again, with this supremacy mentality, have the nerve. And I'm getting up there because it's so irritating to me. Go and educate yourselves. Go educate yourselves.
Not only that, but be willing to be critical. It's okay to be critical of this country. It's okay to be critical of Canada. It is okay to be critical of the country in which you live. As James Baldwin said, I love America more than any other country in the world. And for this reason, I insist on the right to criticize her perpetually. It
Yeah,
is your right. It is your right.
absolutely.
When your country does something wrong, it is your right to criticize, to question, to be in defiance of. It is your
Absolutely.
right, and it should be a right that you take advantage of.
Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, we live here and we have, like you said, we have every right. I can say that there's many things about Canada that's beautiful, but that doesn't mean I can't speak out on the things that are not good. That doesn't mean I can't continue to speak out against the wrongs against the Black community that still go on. And I will still speak out about systemic racism and all of the things that continue to happen in this country. While I can hold two things at the same time, I can still say, Edmonton and Vancouver and BC, Alberta, still beautiful with vast resources and all that good stuff. The healthcare system is better. All of those things. They're still good things, but I am going to call it out if there's anything that's not good.
As one of my favorites, Barack Obama, has said, America is not yet finished. Perhaps our work here is never done.
Same goes for Canada. I know that they're quietly erasing things. For example, there used to be a whole bunch of rivers and creeks that all started with the N word. N word creek, N word valley, N word. Oh, yes.
What are you
And they,
talking about? What
oh,
is this I've never heard of?
oh, girl. Not to mention the fact that we know what happened with the UN vote
Yes,
for, voting against the
yes.
transatlantic slave trade being
Both these countries, Canada and the US.
yeah, Canada abstained. They thought they were slick, you see. So
Same,
you may as well just said no, Canada. You didn't say yes. So just by abstaining, you don't, but the reason why they did that is because they felt as though um calling that the gravest crime against humanity kind of eliminates or diminishes what happened with the Holocaust and all the other things. So in their mind, it's like, why do we pick that? And why are we going back in history and talking about something that happened back then?
but
Right.
again, it
And
wasn't
now,
that long ago. But again,
and then
we
also they're
talked
trying
about
to,
it wasn't that long ago.
it wasn't that long ago. The third one is they're trying to absolve themselves from any liability and having to pay reparations. So, in their mind, abstaining was the best way to do it without looking horrible by saying no, right? But they
It,
know they didn't want to say yes. And
it
it's
looked
like, listen, Great White North, you may as well just said no. And and by the way, you took part in the transatlantic slave trade. So you would think that you would be saying yes. But, I'm not, am I surprised? No. But even with that, which is the most recent, in my opinion, crime against the Black, people and Indigenous people of this country, um, why are we celebrating? Why are we out here celebrating when they who took part, these people were brought on ships to this country. Some of them did not even come out of that boat alive.
And some
Some of
of,
them were so gravely ill.
but not
Some of
only
them managed to build a life for themselves in Nova Scotia, i.e., Africville. And when the folks didn't like the fact that they had nothing, but they made something out of nothing, the scraps, all of the garbage that they put in their area, they build school, they build church, they build homes. They made a nice little life for themselves. Nice, cute, pink and blue colored homes. The
nice being
cutest.
relative, nice being
Pardon?
relative, nice being relative for a demographic of people who were essentially kidnapped, enslaved,
Yes,
and forced to travel the ocean to come to these countries.
indeed. But so the fact that they were still able to do that, and then similar to Tulsa, they were not happy about that.
Tulsa and
So what
many
did they do? They bulldozed them out. And so
Mhm.
you have the nerve to say, yeah, we don't think it's fair that we're calling that the gravest, crime against humanity. And so again, I say to my Black people here in Canada and the United States, since they straight up said no, what are you celebrating exactly? And that goes for Emancipation Day too, to my Canadian peeps. Excuse me.
I will say, instead of celebrating, we can remember. We can remember always the Indigenous people who first called these lands home. We can honor the enslaved Africans who built these nations. And we can recognize the immigrants who to this day continue to shape it. Our countries could not survive, would not be what they are in a positive sense without the immigrants that continue to work hard to continue to build this country, to continue to build a country that does not currently even accept them nor want to recognize them. And yet they still persevere and they come here with their talents, their skills, and they're ready to give them undeservedly for us to receive. Or us, I'm an immigrant too, but it's just their willingness
Yeah.
to continue to build this country that is not welcoming to them. It's tragic. It's
Yeah.
tragic.
Even going back to, the number 2 construction battalion, they were willing to fight for a country that was fighting them and did not want them to fight alongside them. This is a white man's war. Those are the verbatim words that were told to them, to the point where they weren't even allowed to fight. That's why they're called the number 2 construction battalion, because that's what they were relished to do. Build build train tracks, do forestry, and all of that stuff. So that's to tell you how much Black people were willing to be a part of this country, to put their lives on the line. And yet still, and yeah, okay, Trudeau apologized, whatever. We want reparations, okay?
We
We
want
want reparations. We don't want to hear, I'm sorry. That's not good enough. It's
no, it's
not.
not good enough in our everyday lives, let alone for a country to say I'm sorry and to think that's okay. No, obviously, England partook in the slave trade as well.
Yeah.
However, I will give them props on this one point, that in 1775, they came to this country and said, hey, Black people, come fight for us. We'll grant you your freedom.
Yeah.
And I applaud the tens of thousands of previously enslaved Black people in this country who did go and fight and were subsequently freed. Tens of thousands.
That includes Richard Pierpoint, who settled here in Niagara and, built up a lot of Niagara, which,
Yeah,
by the way, a lot of the people in Africville did too, and
yeah,
Priceville and Hogan's Alley. I can go on and on. That's a whole other, like it could be literally a whole other segment on the history. But again, I encourage everybody, go do your homework. Go do your homework, go educate yourself, and maybe, just maybe, if you will, next year you might think about celebrating that day differently.
celebrating, not celebrating. I would say, my opinion, July 1st, July 4th, remember, acknowledge, learn, teach. July 5th, different story. Make it about us. A continuation of Juneteenth.
Yes. So, yes, not celebrate. You're right. Maybe not celebrating because that really is attached to the festivities. So, yes, reflect. Like I said, I go around here and I get on camera and I'll be like, by the way, this is the Harriet Tubman School. Here's the history of Harriet Tubman in the Niagara region. Then we're going to go over to Voices of Freedom Park, where they created art to talk about the freedom seekers and their journey. One year we took the entire trek that Harriet Tubman took when she was bringing people through the Underground Railroad, and the trek that they took across the Niagara region. And it is long and arduous and difficult. And you imagine this 5-foot woman doing this, right? So these are the things that people need to really think about doing. And again, there's so much here now for you to learn. There really is.
Agreed.
So just that's my 2 cents. Just think about it. That's it. I'm not here to preach at anybody and tell anybody what to do. I'm just putting some information in front of you to consider. And by the way, don't send me any more Happy Canada Day next year, okay? Now you've heard it on here.
However, what you can send us, the two of us, if you have questions, hey,
Yeah.
we would like to do something different next year. What do you suggest? I'm in X city, X region. What do you suggest? I, for one, would be more than happy to give you some information.
And if there's anything you want us to talk about, do you want us to expand on this? Do you want us to do more sessions, more of a part 2, a part 3, where we do a real deep dive into it? We're more than happy to do that too. That's what Rooted in Blackness is about. We are centering the diaspora.
Through a
So,
Black cultural lens.
yes, through a Black cultural lens. Exactly. So, we're here for you. We're here for you. Don't add us unless it's something good. Any
on,
final
that,
word?
on that note, I think we're good. I think we've talked about what these few days mean to us, what we would like to share with others, and we hope that whatever we have shared with you, you will share on, and so on and so forth. Let's make things better for next year. Let's really try to improve our lot and to improve the lives of others at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, just think about it. Just think in your mind. And this is to all of us that are parents and have our young kids coming up behind us and babies coming up behind them. When we're no longer above ground, what kind of life do we want our children to live? And what kind of legacy, what do we want them to know and learn? Because God knows the schools they're also fighting to keep this history out. So, I urge us to be the responsible ones. I always say we are all we got. Okay.
Very true.
Nobody would be more invested in us than us. So I just urge everybody to really do that homework and teach your kids. There's so much out here that they need to learn. And I wish that I had all of that when I was a kid. We didn't have any. Every year, Christopher Columbus.
We
Christopher Columbus discovered America. That was history every single time.
Speaking
Go
of which, did you know? So Christopher Columbus just discovered America in 1492. In 1493, there was something called the Doctrine of Discovery, which basically let Europe decide, hey, we know this already existed, but we're going to claim this as empty land. Mind blowing. The Doctrine of Discovery that
You
Europeans
see what I mean, family? So much to know, so much to learn. And the resources are vast now. So, again, let us be intentional about learning.
let us be intentional.
And with that, we are going to love you and leave you. Thank you so
Yes.
much for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, let everybody know about Rooted in Blackness. We are here Fridays at 7 p.m. Come hang out with us. And again, drop in the comments what else you want us to talk about. And we'll be happy to oblige, as long as it's about rooted in Blackness and centering the diaspora through a Black cultural lens. Don't forget it. We shall see you on the next one.
Take care, everyone.